Are you looking for more data to support your work? Well, then maybe this is the right video for you. Today I'm going to talk to you about the SIOS Data Access Portal, which provides a single access point to data collected both in Svalbard and from a wide region surrounding it. In fact, currently it includes data from the whole Arctic. I think this is a really useful tool, but perhaps one that people aren't taking advantage of as often as they could be at the moment. So what is the SIOS Data Access Portal, and why should you be using it? Let's take a look. Let's talk first about why data access portals are useful. Imagine that you're looking for oceanographic data from the northern Barents Sea, perhaps to create a reconstruction of the seawater temperature from over the last 30 years, for example. You know that there were some cruisers by the Institute of Marine Research, and you know that their data are probably published with their own data centre, the Norwegian Marine Data Centre. You know that there were also some cruisers by the Norwegian Polar Institute, whose data are probably published with their own data centre too, the Norwegian Polar Data Centre. And you know that there must have been some cruisers by the University Centre in Svalbard. But since they don't have their own dedicated data centre, you have no idea where these data are. The basic idea behind data access portals is that all of these data, regardless of where they're published, should be accessible easily via the same point. And by using the data access portal, you might even find some data that you weren't aware of. Data access portals are becoming more and more popular, and they're going to be an important part of how we do science in the future. The SIOS Data Access Portal provides access to over 100,000 datasets, and this number is increasing over time. It's not a data center. It doesn't host any data itself. Instead, it provides access to where the data are hosted. So it relies on contributing data centers. So how do we find the SIOS Data Access Portal? Well, first we can go to Google. If we type in SIOS, we'll see that unfortunately there's a Japanese software company that uses the same abbreviation. So we have to type SIOS Svalbard. And here we are. Alternatively, we can just type in sios-svalbard.org. To see a list of which data centers contribute to SIOS, you can go to Data and Submit Data. And if you scroll down, you can see a list of contributing data centers. I discussed these data centers in a different video, and I'll put a link to that down in the description. I want you to take two key points home with you today. Number one is that you can use data access portals to quickly and easily find data that are going to be useful for you. And number two is that you should want your own data to be accessible via these data access portals, because it'll make your data much easier for someone else to find, which is good news for you as the data creator, as this means more citations. So let's have a look at the SIOS Data Access Portal. To find the Data Access Portal from here, you go to Data Access Portal. So as I mentioned earlier, the SIOS Data Access Portal aims to provide a single access point to data collected both in and around Svalbard. We can see on this map here a subset of the data that are included. This is just datasets 1 to 15 that appear on page 1. And each of these boxes shows a spatial extent of a single one of those datasets. And we can see in some cases that the data have actually been collected quite far from Svalbard. So whilst the focus is for data in and around Svalbard, it's worth knowing that this could be a useful place to look for data collected further afield. We can scroll down further and see all of these datasets listed below. We can see that different information is listed next to each dataset. For example, the temporal extent, the start date and the end date. We can see when metadata was last updated. And if we open up this Show More, we can see the abstract in this case. And we can click on these datasets to access them. And we can see that we've been relocated to the place where the data are stored, in this case with the Norwegian Meteorological Institute. So let's return to the SIOS Data Access Portal. So in this case, this is Sentinel-1 data, so satellite data. And actually, I believe that if we scroll up and select that data set here, we can actually see that data overlain on the map. Let's scroll up again and reset our search. One of the really useful things about this access portal is that there are a number of different ways that you can filter when you're looking for data. We can revisit the map again, and we can create a bounding box filter. So we have this dot here. I can create a box by using my left mouse button with a single click, and then move across to create a box and click again. This returns all the different data sets that have been found within that region. In this case, we can see that there's almost 2,000 datasets that have been found. And we can see the coordinates within which we are searching here. You can zoom in and out by scrolling. And if we select one of these datasets again, we can see that this dataset has been pushed up to the top of the list. And in this case, we can actually download the data by selecting this icon. I'm not going to do that now, so I'll just hit cancel. Let's reset our search again. We can see in both the left and right panel a number of different ways in which we can filter for data. At the top on the left, we have a free text search. So this is really useful if you want to find data where a certain term has been used within any of the metadata fields. So if I type in chlorophyll here and hit return, we've been provided with the results on the map, and we can see that 90 datasets have been found in this case. Here we can see these black upside down teardrop kind of shapes. These are just where all the data points within that dataset have the same latitude and longitude. So this is probably a depth profile of chlorophyll data. We can refine our search further by providing a start and an end date. If I click on here, I can select a date from a calendar. So that's done. So now if I hit search, and I scroll down, we can see that we now only have 10 datasets. Let's reset our search again. If we look further down this panel on the left hand side, we can see here that we have isotopic category and keywords. These are two ways in which you can quickly refine your search and return data that are similar to one another. The isotopic category is generally broader than the keyword. Let's say you want to look at all the Nansen legacy data that are available via the SIOS Data Access Portal. I'd advise that instead of going to Project here, you instead go to Collection, select Show More, and we can see the collection tag AEN here. We can see that of those 37 datasets that have the AEN collection tag, only 32 of them have the Nansen Legacy Project tag. And I believe this is just down to how the datasets are tagged at their data centers. So use the AEN collection tag rather than the Nansen Legacy Project tag. If you know the personnel who have been involved in publishing the data, you can find them here. This should include all the different co-authors, and in some cases also the data managers. As you can see, Arnfinn has been mentioned here. He works at the NMDC data center. It's also worth knowing that if your search has returned a lot of datasets, it's also possible to sort the data that have been returned. By default, the data are sorted by start date, where the most recent data are listed first. But if we select this, it's also possible to show the oldest data first. And since someone is going to be interested, I can tell you that the oldest data that we have has a start date that dates right back to 1553. Some sea ice charts, apparently. Maybe that's your type of thing. So to conclude, I think this is a really useful tool, and I'm sure that you can use it to find some data that will improve your own work. Thanks very much for listening.